Okay, good noon all of you. I hope I'm clearly visible and audible. Good noon Sanil, Mamta. Hi Shaina. Hello Gaurav. Good noon Tanvi. Harry, Krishna. Hello Sunny, Om. Good noon Vicky. All right, so that means I'm clearly visible, clearly audible to all of you, and we can begin our session for the day, right? Okay, so a reading comprehension session today. Now, some of you had been talking about, let's say, keeping sessions for reading comprehension. We've already had one RC session, okay, one reading comprehension session, wherein we talked about in detail as to how you can actually increase your reading comprehension score, right? And now this is our second session. We also solved two RC passages back in that session. This is your second session for RC passages. Here I have a long RC passage for you. Long in the sense that it is followed by a number of questions, right? So let's see what kind of passages come, what is the length of the passages in MAH CET, okay? And then let's solve one RC passage today. Our focus will be on learning how to approach various question types, okay? And how to deal with vocabulary based questions, grammar based questions, etc. Right? Okay, then. Good noon, Bhargavi, Anand, Vijay, good noon. Hi, Aditya, Ashish, Krishna. All right. So I hope we can begin now. Good noon, Pranit. All right. So let's see. If I show you some slots of the previous year MAH CET papers, right? This is the last year's paper. As you can clearly see here, we have one passage with 9 questions and one passage with 5 questions in RC passages, taking it, of course, to a total of 14 questions. So that's a good chunk out of the 50 questions that you got in the VARC section. Then, if I talk about slot 6, there the division was pretty much equal, 6 questions per RC passage, right? Taking it to a total of 12 questions. So that means you can expect anywhere up to 15 questions, I can say, out of 50 out of your RC passages, okay, out of this particular section. So that makes it what? How much of the paper? Yes, 15 out of 50. You can do the math, that's 30% of the VRC section here, right? So RC passages are important. Okay, so now what should we do? How should we prepare about them? Let's talk about that briefly. I have discussed all of this with you in the session that we had 3 months, the 3 months to MAH CET, right? When we talked about the strategy that you should follow for the next 3 months, we had this session. So I have talked to you about RC passages there also, but just let me quickly recap some points. Okay, so how do you prepare for RC passages? First thing, you practice diverse genres, right? There is no, I can't emphasize this more, right? Because your RC passage could be from any genre. It could be topical in nature, meaning something related to the current affairs, what is happening in the country, what is happening in the world, right? Or it could be general also. It could be abstract also, right? Abstract means, let's say, relatively philosophical. So practice both the kinds of RC passages so that you're not taken by surprise if, let's say, a general RC passage appears, right? Okay, so from where all do you practice? That's a big question. So of course, your previous year papers, your non-CAT previous year, all the non-CAT exam previous year papers will work. In fact, if you look at your early CAT papers also, no? Early CAT papers, not very early, right? You can stick to late 90s or early 2000s, right? So there also the passages are moderately lengthy and some of the passages are easy also. They are of the MAH CET level. So you can pick up those as well. That will, collectively this will make for ample practicing material. Of course, I'm sure you've subscribed to some mock series. So the mocks that you take will form a source of practice. And yes, on our website, you will get some RC passages. Either on byju's.com or byju'sexamprep.com, you will find RC passages, right? So you can practice from these sources. Okay, now the next thing is that, okay, fine, I have practiced, let's say, topical RCs also. I have practiced general RCs also. But is that it? Will that suffice? So now another thing that you have to keep in mind is that you practice RCs of varied lengths, short RCs also, moderately lengthy RCs also, right? So if I talk about, let's say MAH CET 2020, your RC passages were approximately 500 words there per RC, 500 words. So that's not even moderately lengthy, that's short to lengthy only, right? I think at the most you can think of a 650, 700 word RC passage. I I mean, if let's say everything goes as per a rational plan, then I don't expect a very lengthy RC passage in your exam, right? Two moderately lengthy RC passages, that's what I expect. Okay, at the most three, let's say, short, medium length RC passages. So that's why practice short RCs also, practice moderately lengthy RCs also, right? So that you have exposure to various RC types. Now, uh, it's important that you go for RC passages. See, when you pick up your previous year papers, of course, you're going to have such questions there, right? Then similarly, when you pick up some non-CAT exams, again, you will find that there are vocabulary-based, grammar-based questions that are based on RC passages, right? Vocabulary, grammar questions based on RC passages. So it's important that you practice these questions. Why? Because I've always told you that in RC passages, you should give importance to these questions. They could be the easier ones. They could very well be the easier questions and they could be your time saving questions. So do give these questions a sincere shot. What do I mean by special options? Special options are those kinds of questions where, let's say, three statements are given to you, okay, in a question. Then you are asked which of the following is true. And then your options are a combination of these three. So 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, all 1, 2 and 3. These are referred to as special options. Why am I asking you to practice this specifically? Because sometimes they are easier to attempt. Because you can make use of options, right? You can make use of options. So if you think that 2 is not the answer, 2 is a statement that is not true, then you can outrightly reject A and B. Okay, now you're just left with three answer choices. Let's say one of them is none of the above, right? One of them is none of the above. So C, D, E with one being none of the above. So now let's say we have 1 and 3. Okay, we have only 1. So now what you will see is whether 1 is correct or not. Okay, whether this 1 is correct or not. So if 1 is correct, then again you'll check 3. If 1 is wrong, then you clearly know that your answer is none of the above. So that's how sometimes this reduces the number of steps that are required to reach the correct answer. I hope I'm making sense to all of you. Good afternoon, a very good afternoon to those of you who have just joined. I am good. I hope the same for you. All right. Cause effect, we never select both with a common cause. Yes, that's a very rare possibility, Harry. And in fact, tomorrow we have a session on verbal reasoning. There I will talk about cause effect. So you need not worry, we'll cover it tomorrow. Right, Sanil, we also have a critical reasoning session coming up in July itself. Plus, I asked my team to incorporate some sessions in August also. Okay. Another thing, someone asked for para summary. So para summary is also coming in July itself. Okay. So we incorporated all the suggestions that you gave. All right. So these are some suggestions from my side as far as your preparation is concerned. Okay, for RC passages, this can form up to 30% of your VRC section. So of course, you need to be good at attempting RC passages. You need to hone your RC passage solving skills. So let's do that now. We have an RC passage here, not a very lengthy RC passage. I think it's 500 something words only, right? So let's read it, and pretty simple language. So, and after that, you have questions, 8 questions followed by this passage. So read carefully. However, don't read at a very leisurely laggard pace. We don't want that, right? Start reading. Once you finish the slide, let me know. Yes. Done? Others? Rishabh also says done. How about others? Acha, okay, waiting. All right, let's go to the next page then. This is your second slide. Done this one as well. All right. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Okay, Vicky has done. Others? Sanil is also right. So not much content on this slide. Yes, and very simple language of the RC passage. Let's have a look at the questions. So first question says, what is the difference between modern science healthcare and ancient methods of healthcare? You have 5 options, right? What do you prefer to do? Do you want me to go back to the RC passage first, or do you want to read the options first and eliminate some of them? Yes, this is your choice. So make this choice on the basis of whether you remember reading about this or not. If you remember reading about both modern science healthcare and the contrast between modern and ancient methods, then in that case I would go for the options first. I would read the options first, eliminate some of them, and then go to the RC passage. If when I read the question stem I'm unable to recall what I read about this, then of course I will go straight away to the RC passage. So this is how you take this decision. Simple. So let's see where it has been mentioned. Now, I want some hints from your end. Where did you read about it? Yes. So, we are on the slide where something about modern scientific medicine is mentioned. Read this and then let's go to our options. Absolutely correct. Our very first paragraph has information regarding this, right? So retention is important, okay? If you retain where you read a particular thing, exactly where, it becomes easy to navigate the passage when you're scanning it later on, right? Otherwise, you'll be stuck, you'll keep on finding this and waste time. Yes, first paragraph towards the end, absolutely, right? So modern scientific medicine carried forward that knowledge through extensive research to find normal functioning of the body, the causation of diseases, methods of managing such diseases, and promotion of good health. Now that we have read this, let's attempt the first question. Yes. Let's see who answers the fastest. Okay. Sanil has answered. Mamta has answered. Harry has answered. All right, all right. So all of you say D. Any other option? Not B, Bangalore. D, Delhi. Absolutely correct. D, Delhi is the answer. No, I just said B to confuse you. D, Delhi is the answer here. You are absolutely correct. Okay, because the whatever I read in the first paragraph, that focused on the idea that okay, in ancient, when we talk about our ancient methods, basically what this promotion of good health was learned through day-to-day experience, right? Modern scientific medicine carried forward that knowledge. It carried forward the knowledge that was learned through the ancient methods, right? How did it carry it forward? Through extensive research. So basically, it in a way systematized it, right? And it's not, see, I have not talked about prevention here anywhere when I talk about it. So B cannot be the answer. B talks about prevention of diseases, right? D then. Good. So this was not a challenging question, and see such question types where you are asked what is something, what is the difference, most likely it is going to be a direct question only, right? Otherwise your indirect questions relatively have words like what can be inferred, what is likely to be true, right? What can be said. So here what is, when straight away that is asked, it's a pretty short uh, answer, okay, which probably lies inside the passage itself. Okay, coming to question 2 then, which of the following is true about healthcare programs? Again, a direct question. So let's see what you say. Which of the following is true about healthcare programs? So once you've read the options, I have read the options now. Okay, now I am going to go back. Let's say I don't remember all of them. Okay, so it's always better to go back. So healthcare programs, we begin the discussion of healthcare programs in the second paragraph, right? And then principles, they're the very beginning of the third paragraph. So remembering where specific information lies is essential. All right. Okay, okay. All right. That's okay, Sonali. Prachi, previous year questions. One thing is, whichever sessions happened last year, okay, they had a lot of previous year questions and all of them are available over YouTube. So you can refer to those sessions. One thing. Second is that if you talk about last year's MAH CET itself, then all we have are memory based questions. And even those sometimes or the other, I keep on including them in the slides. right? Third is that when the last lap begins, the focus will be more on. So we are planning to start with the last lap for MACET. When that begins, then the focus will be more on the previous year question. Something that I stated that okay, towards the end in the last month, that is when we will talk about the previous year questions more, right? Because as I told you that we do not have many official papers out there, all we have are memory based questions. So what we do is we tweak them a little, right? We make questions based on them, right? Patterned on them. We don't pick them up directly because they're not very authentic. Okay, so that's the thing. So don't worry, whatever I'm covering with you is of the same level, has been modified, has been based on it, patterned on it. Okay, and towards the last month the focus will be on those questions. Okay, fill in the blanks in the community. So Pratik, whenever you have a query, you can always ask in the group that okay, I didn't understand this question. Please clarify. It will be clarified, right? Okay. So question 2, all of you said C, right? All of you said C, and I think it was a pretty straightforward question, direct question. See, these are the principles from here to here, right? No individual should be denied to secure adequate medical care because of inability to pay. Health programs must lay special emphasis on preventive work. Health service should be located close to the people. Medical services should be free to all without any distinction, and doctors should be social physicians, right? So these are the principles. So now, of course, they are based on principles of good health. That's the idea, right? That's what they want to promote. These were the sorry. I mean, we want to say what is true, right? One of them is true. I thought we have to give an accept answer. These were the need of the hour. This is something that is nowhere mentioned. These were the need of the hour considering the poor state of healthcare at that time. So I eliminated option B first and foremost. These were based on the principle that health and development are interdependent. If you just see, I read the principles. I read the principles. Now, the committee also observed, what it says is, the committee also observed that health and development are interdependent and improvement in other sectors like these led to improvement in health status. So, this is not a principle, so to say, this is an observation that the committee made in addition to saying that these should be the principles on which our healthcare programs should be based. So then, can C be the answer? Tell me. That can C be the answer? C is not the answer here. Okay. Now let's have a look at D. These were based on the set of principles. Okay. Yes, they were based on a set of principles seeking to promote good health. This is something that is true about them. This is something that is true about them, right? That yes, they were based on a set of principles, and what was the goal of those principles? To promote good health. Okay. Now A and D are, they appear to be close. They appear to be close. However, A says they were based on principles of good health. Nowhere has the passage said that okay, these are the principles of good health and therefore these should be followed. No, they were based on a set of principles and the goal of those principles was to promote good health. That is something that I can clearly see, right? So what will be the goal of these principles? Why am I laying down these healthcare programs? Because I want to promote good health. Yes, that's the idea. So here, this is something that is true. Sorry, this is something that is true, not C, which you marked. You marked C, that is not the principle as such. It is not based on this principle. It is an additional observation. Right, so I can understand why you would mark C, and I hope the difference between A and D is clear because that's important to understand. These are not some principles of good health that I am incorporating to healthcare programs. Rather, healthcare programs are based on a set of principles, and the goal of those principles is to promote good health. Right? Curative healthcare. So basically, healthcare focused on curing or treating the patient. Okay. Accessibility, when it is accessible to all. Now, nowhere do my healthcare programs say that the special emphasis should be on curing the patient. In fact, they focus on preventive healthcare. So this becomes wrong right at this juncture. Okay. I hope this is clear. All right. It's preventive. Yes, E was a trap. E was a trap. So clear to everybody, I hope. D Delhi is the answer. So it's not that, see, that's why I tell you that do give the direct questions a sincere shot, but don't be stuck. Let's say if some of you were confused between, let's say, E or let's say you narrowed down, you eliminated A and B, but then among these three options that were left, you were quite confused. Okay, C also is something that is mentioned. D is true in a general sense. Yes, that is why the healthcare programs would be instituted. And in case you got trapped in E, right? So in case you're stuck between options, first I think E can be eliminated once you cross check. Then when stuck between two close options, just see which one has a higher probability. So I think if you give it a sincere read, you will realize that C is not the answer. And even if, let's say, you're not able to realize this, then at that point, whatever you feel as a higher probability, mark it and proceed. Don't get stuck, right? All right. Question 3. So based on the information provided in the passage, now see which of the following can be inferred from the passage. So now probably this is an indirect question. We'll get to know from the options. So here I think we have no choice but to read the options first. It is an inference from the passage. Yes, read these. Critical here means saying negative things. Read the options. Vijay, C is an additional observation, not a principle. I hope that is clear to you. It is not a principle on which the healthcare program was based. It was rather an additional observation that was made by the committee that gave those principles. Right? Okay, so Abhijit has already answered. Abhijit thinks it's B. KK thinks it's D. Okay. All right. So let's see. Let's again cross check once, right? You've read the options. Let's cross check once. So this is where the board committee is mentioned, right? And this committee, what did they want to do? They wanted to survey the then existing position regarding health conditions and health organizations in the country. They reported that the health programs should be developed on a foundation of preventive health work, and that if the nation's health has to be built, such activities should proceed side by side with those concerned with the treatment of patients. Right? Then we give the principles and then we make an additional observation. Right? Interestingly, this is also the period when the British government introduced national health services in England. The Soviet Union had already introduced the concept of the state's responsibility for healthcare to all in 1936. Now that we've read all of this, tell me what the answer should be. Let's make an informed choice. B, D, E, C. What should be the answer? So Sanil sticks to B. All right. Others? Abhijit said B right in the beginning. I've got quite a few D's here. Anand says B. All right. Okay, so first let's reject. I always eliminate first. So it becomes very easy to focus. Now, whether it went far beyond, see, whenever you search words, no, far beyond is a relatively extreme word. It's not a mild word. I cannot judge this from my passage. My passage does not talk about it's going far beyond the formation. Fine, it says there was another program that was instituted, but it does not say that, okay, it go like from that we cannot assess, we cannot judge, we cannot infer that it went far beyond. That would be an extreme thing to say. So I eliminate this right away. Similarly, E is a trap option. I think one of you or two of you said E. We have not been given that because government was focusing on healthcare in England through the National Health Services. That is why it was focusing on healthcare in India also. Just that the two things happened at the same time, but that does not mean one caused the other. Correlation causation fallacy. Eliminated. Now, it was critical of India's healthcare setup. No, we've just read all the details. We can clearly eliminate this. So, yes, B and D are two close options. But D says it highlighted the need to put healthcare programs above the need to cure patients. It never said this, it said side by side. I read that sentence specifically, that if the nation's health has to be built, such activities means healthcare programs, should proceed side by side with those activities concerned with the treatment of patients. Side by side, not above, not below. That is why question 3 option D is incorrect. B is the answer. The Bhor committee's report, and if you see, it gives a very overall sort of a holistic sort of a conclusion. The Bhor committee's report laid the cornerstone, basically cornerstone, all of you understand that it started the healthcare programs in India in a way, right? It led to the formation of healthcare programs in India. It was the beginning of something, okay, and marked an important event in the history of something. So B clearly makes sense because our passage clearly states that it began, this health planning in India began with this, right? Health planning in India started with the formation of this committee, right? So I hope this is clear now. Okay, Pratik has written B in Hindi. All right. Question 4. According to the passage, which of the following were the principles on which the healthcare programs were based? We've just read the principles. See, for various questions, we've already read the principles. So this happens that sometimes, reading for some questions helps you with the other questions. Particularly, when you have a main idea question, my suggestion is that you attempt the other questions before attempting the main idea question. Because then by the time you reach the main idea question, you would have read multiple paragraphs for other questions. And in a way, you would have a better sense of the passage. Right? So now quickly tell me what the answer should be. 4 is extremely easy. Bharat says B. Others? Kashish says D. Praful 1. Okay, A you mean. C, D. Okay. I've got B, C, D. A also I've got. D. Okay, quite a few of you are saying D. All right. So I think this accessibility has been discussed, that it should be accessible to all. With if let's say someone does not have an ability to, someone does not have the ability to pay, that does not mean that they should be denied. This was the, I think, very first principle that was mentioned. Focus on preventive work, again mentioned in the principles that I read, and free to all without any distinction, again mentioned towards the end, right, in the list of principles. So all 1, 2, and 3 have been mentioned. Good. D Delhi is the answer here. Good, good, good. Majority has got this correct. Now, primary purpose. So see, here we have a main idea question. What is the primary purpose of the author behind writing the passage? Why has the author written this passage? What is it that the author wants to convey to you? Right? So these are your options. Tell me. Because see, now you cannot go back and reread the entire passage. That's not possible. Yes? So, tell me. All right, all right. Got some responses. Mm, Vicky, it depends. If that is happening, that means you are overthinking a little, right? There is some amount of overthinking that is happening. That's why you're facing this problem that you are, overthinking about even the easy questions. So your job, see, always think like this, that your job is to attempt a question in the minimum possible time. When you keep this time factor in your mind, no, that automatically avoids the overthinking. It automatically avoids the complicating of easy questions also. It's only when we think that we have a lot of time at hand that we keep on, assessing, reassessing the options. So attempt like that. And I think it will help you. Keep the time constraint in mind. Just think, I don't have to spend a lot of time on this, right? Okay. Now, I've got responses such as C, D, quite a few Ds, okay? A lot of Ds, I think. Yes, if I'm correct. Is it? Can D be the answer? Does the author say that there is a need? Does the author make this comment? Okay. To inform the readers about the poor state of healthcare in the country, the author does not discuss the state of healthcare in the country today, let's say, or the author's focus is not to talk about the poor state, right? We just talk about how health planning began in India with the Board Committee's recommendation on healthcare programs, right? What were the principles of those healthcare programs? Then we also talk about in the subsequent paragraphs that in the first few decades after independence, we actually carried this legacy, right? And as a follow-up, we signed even this Alma Ata Declaration in 1978, right? Which again, it had the goal of primary healthcare, right, being available for all. So, the idea is not to criticize, not to inform the readers, or not even to inform the readers about the poor state of healthcare in the country. The focus has not been on what all we did not have in terms of healthcare. Then she says to talk about the mitigating factors that can help improve India's healthcare setup. Does the author talk about some factors that, okay, some suggestions does the author give that this is what we can do to improve our healthcare? One, two, three. This is all that we can do. These are the steps that can be taken. No, the author does not talk about that also. So if you see, the author hasn't given well a lot of opinions in this RC passage, right? So I can't say that the author has talked about these factors. These suggestions have been given. D says to focus on the need to revamp India's healthcare programs. Does the author say this, that now India's healthcare programs need to be revamped? They need to be redesigned. There is a need to redesign them. Yes, those who have said D. No, the author has not said this. This is a very factual kind of a passage that is telling you a story, okay, of sorts. The tone of the passage is narrative. The author is narrating to you how health planning begin in India, how health planning began in India, right? So, how did it begin? We talk about that. Then the author talks about healthcare programs, which when the health planning began, these healthcare programs were recommended. These healthcare programs were based on certain principles. Okay, for a while after independence, we actually used these, and as a follow up, we signed the Alma Ata Declaration. Again, the focus there also was on health for all. So, a very narrative sort of a passage as to what happened regarding healthcare in India once health planning began. So you can't say that the focus is on the need to revamp India's healthcare programs. Nowhere has that been mentioned. Between B and E, I think you should all have narrowed down to B and E here. B says to explore the inception, the beginning of India's healthcare programs. E says to trace the history of healthcare in India through the lens of various healthcare programs. So, is the author concerned more about this, or is the author concerned more about the overall healthcare in India? And are we talking about various healthcare programs? Are we? Which all healthcare programs have we talked about here? We just talk about them in general, if I'm not wrong. We don't name any healthcare programs as such. That, okay, what was the result? Which all healthcare programs were implemented? So how can you say that E is the answer? So in a main idea question, please read the options carefully and please read each and every word in the options carefully, right? We are not really concerned with the broader healthcare history as such. We haven't really traced that. Also, various healthcare programs have not been discussed. So E cannot be the answer. B is the answer here. We are concerned with the beginning of health planning. We are concerned with the laying down the foundation for healthcare programs and then carrying it forward in through just one example of carrying it forward has been mentioned. So our answer is going to be B, Bangalore, right? So good that initially some of you did guess that okay, B could be the answer, right? But then we somehow shifted track to E. Absolutely, absolutely. Is this clear to everybody? Is this clear? Any query asked? Why B, Bangalore is the answer? All right. So far we've done 5 questions. I'll ask this question from you in the end, right? That how many of these have you found to be difficult? How many of these you found to be easy, right? So you can keep noting this down. Now we have all the vocabulary and grammar based questions. Okay, so good. You've applied your, you've scanned enough, you've inferred enough. Now you just have to give me some synonyms. Okay, attempt a grammar based question. So easy part begins now. As used in the final paragraph, so in the final paragraph, we have used this word encompassing. What is its synonym? So in such questions, when you know this is written as used in the final paragraph, always go and read that sentence once. Okay, where it is mentioned. So here we talk about that it conceptualized health as the core function of development, encompassing the securities of life, livelihood, and basic services, including blah blah blah. Right? So basically, it conceptualized health as the core function of development. Development exists. The function of development is to actually ensure health, encompassing the securities of life, livelihood, and basic services. Now, so tell me, what would encompassing mean? So, Vicky, I agree that in the last paragraph, we did talk about taking it forward. That was there, right? That how after independence, those principles themselves were carried forward, right? And in the end, we say that, okay, then India followed it up by signing the Alma Ata Declaration. So, in that sense, you are correct that a bit about carrying forward has also been discussed. But if you compare B and E, right, if you compare those two options that we had narrowed down to, the last one is a much broader option. We haven't traced the entire history of healthcare in India in our passage. Secondly, we do not talk about various healthcare programs, right? We talk about healthcare programs in a general sense. Okay? All right. So a lot of D's I've got, and you are absolutely correct. D, Delhi is the answer here. Okay? So D is the answer. Consisting. Okay. Others don't match. Basically, we are saying that health is the function of development. Okay. And what all does development include? You know, it should ensure your access to life, livelihood. That is what was mentioned. Secure, encompassing, consisting, including the securities of life, livelihood, and basic services. This is all what development should entail. So this is consisting. Confining, no, I'm not saying that it is restricted to this, that this is all that development is restricted to. Skirting means avoiding. When we skirt a responsibility, we try to avoid that responsibility, to, you know, go past that responsibility. Encircling Surrounding, they don't match. Although, encircling, surrounding, they are actually synonyms of encompassing if you look up the dictionary. Yet they don't fit in our sentence. We are trying to say that it includes, not that it surrounds or it encircles. Right? So D, Delhi is the answer here. Alright. Question 7. The term day-to-day highlighted in the first paragraph can best be replaced by. So again, first go to the first paragraph. Yes. So day-to-day experience, this has been highlighted here. In ancient times, the promotion of good health was learned through day-to-day experience. So now replace this day-to-day experience. Let's see what you say. All right. So D, C, A, E, others. All right, all right. Let's discuss this. Let's discuss this. Can we? These questions are your time-saving questions, yes? So we have to try to attempt them as fast as we can. Okay. So day-to-day experience. This question is actually a combination of vocab and grammar, right? I'll show you how. Day-to-day experience does not mean boring experience. Mundane is something that's very routine, dull, and boring. So it does not fit here. C does not fit here. Day-to-day experience, again, is the focus there on, let's say, repetitive experience, something that's again repetitive in nature, or basically your usual experiences that you encountered on a daily basis. That's the idea, right? So I think A versus E. It should have been A versus E, because occasional also means something that does not, something that's infrequent, something that happens on occasion. So B can also be eliminated. So it's between A and E. Do we agree? Yes. It's between A and E. Do we agree? I've got quite a few A's, so I'm assuming that we agree. All right. So now everyday experience or everyday experience. Actually, when we use everyday as an adjective, then I cannot write this. The adjective form is everyday. Everyday experience, which means your usual experience, your daily experience. Here it means daily, okay, usual, etc. So this is the word that I'm looking for. Every day is not used as an adjective, it is used as an adverb. I meet her every day. Now here you cannot write this combined word every day. Here you have to write it separately. Okay, because here it is an adverb describing when all do I meet her. I hope this is clear. So every day as two separate words, this is an adverb, and every day as one single word is an adjective. We needed an adjective here, so every day. Hope this is clear. All right. Yes, there's a power cut. Yes, yes, yes. There's a beeping sound. Actually, I installed a UPS because in some sessions you must have observed that when a power cut happens, no, the generator takes a little bit time to get switched on. So usually there is a blackout for 30-40 seconds. So I wanted to avoid that. I installed a UPS, but somehow it's making a lot of noise. I don't know whether it's solving its purpose or not. So, okay, out of all the options that are given. And now coming to our last question for the day, question 8. Yes. So there is a sentence. This is a sentence from the RC passage itself. Which of the phrases taken from the sentence above have an error? That's the question. Grammar. I'll explain, Swagat. Attempt this one first. Question 8. I've got C. Okay. This is why I gave this question. Yes, I wanted to discuss something. Okay, okay. So, the then existing position. This is a correct phrase. The answer here is E, none of the above. Okay. If I talk about, let's say, my then employer, appreciated me. Okay, if I write down this sentence, that means the employer that I had at that time. So now when I say my then employer, that means in the previous sentence I have talked about that time. I am discussing that time and I say my then employer appreciated me, right? So similarly, the then existing position, that means the position that existed back then. Okay, so then can be used as an adjective. It is a limited use of then, right? Otherwise, we usually do not use it like this. Yes, you may not have seen it before a noun. Usually it's an adverb, but it can be used as an adjective. That's what I wanted to highlight. Okay, I hope this is clear. Yes. Now, one of you was asking what is the difference between repetitive and how can it be the then? Let's say the then to survey the then. Okay, I'm trying to look for a synonym that I can actually substitute it with. Then again, the idea is that something that existed at that time, the time in question. Can I use something else for it? It is an accepted usage. Okay. I have seen it being used like this, okay, then as an adjective. And in fact, in the passage also, it was given like this only. Okay, it was given exactly like this. So I felt that when you read it, you will feel that it is incorrect, and that's why I made a grammar question out of it. Right? Now, another question that was asked, let me clarify this also. What is the difference between everyday and repetitive? The difference is of connotation. Everyday simply means daily and usual. Repetitive has a negative connotation to it. When you feel that something is so tiresome, something is so unnecessary, such a repetitive lecture, let's say. Okay, you feel that. So unnecessary, tiresome, it has that connotation, something that happens so often that it starts appearing tiresome, right? So that's the difference. So their day-to-day experiences you didn't want a negative connotation with them. That was the difference. Okay, and this then is used as an adjective. Yes, the then prime minister, absolutely correct. Yes, so the then prime minister, we see it in the newspapers. You must have observed this, right? This is not from the previous year question paper. No, this one is not from there. Okay, we did, as I said, that the RC sessions that happened last year, the RC sessions from last year, you can again check it in the MAH CET playlist. They do have previous year RC passages. We've discussed them there. Okay. All right. Back then is a very normal accepted usage. Okay. Back then, I knew her. We used to hang out back then. So that is a very normal adverbial usage only. That's not an adjective wala usage. This, on the other hand, students find challenging to accept, right? So now, just a few last words on the strategy. Please read the question stems before reading the RCs, okay? In MHCT, that can help you because we identified that there were some direct questions, yes? So that can help you to prioritize your direct questions. Then do attempt vocabulary and grammar based questions. Yes, so you found, I think two of you out of these three, two of them were easy, not two of you. Focus on the direct easy questions, goes without saying. Yes, these are the things that I've already told you. Always eliminate, avoid the getting stuck trap, and mark all the questions. There is no negative marking, right? So I hope you enjoyed the session. Then and then, yes, they are different. Then means at that time, than is used to compare. Than is used for comparison between two things, right? All right. So I hope you've enjoyed the session. If yes, then you know what to do. Any queries, please ask. You know about these students now? Yes? I hope they don't come in your dreams. You've seen their faces so many times now. And this is our comprehensive program. It covers CAT as well as non-CAT exams, right? So we provide you with live sessions, recorded sessions, mock tests, practice questions, books, you name it, we have it. And for details, you can call up our counselors, right? Welcome, welcome all of you. You also have a nice day. All right. Now we can stay connected using this channel, this Telegram channel. And for current affairs, you can follow our Facebook and Insta handles, right? Welcome, welcome. Yes, I'll do that, Sanil, right? Difference between then is an adverb. Usually it's used as an adverb. The then prime minister, when I say that, that means the prime minister who was governing back then. Okay, the idea is the prime minister governing back then, but you're using then as an adjective there. The next session is tomorrow, which is on verbal reasoning. Okay, we'll talk about cause effect, course of action, statement conclusion, statement assumption, all these things. Right? Welcome, welcome all of you. You too have a good day. Bye.